So in the last episode, we were able to successfully register the user, which is really cool. So whatever we'll do in this episode is to protect the routes and conditionally render them, okay? Whenever we refresh the page, we lose the state of our user. So let me show you what I mean. So if I come to our auth context, and at the top here, let's get to log the user to the console here. So I'll say console.log, and we log our user, and we say here user. So I save. So we are logging this user to the console, and whenever we check, you see we have user as null, even though we are actually logged into the system and we have a user at local storage. We should be able to get this user from the local storage and add the user to the state whenever we refresh, okay? And this is how we will go about it. So we can make use of the use effect hook. So whenever the application first loads, we get that user from local storage, then we add the user to the state, just like this. So we will say use effect, then we invoke it. The first parameter is a function here, and the other parameter is an array of dependencies that will be null. But whenever we first loads the app, what we will do, we will say let const user be equal to our local storage, and then we have the method called get item. So we get this user from the local storage, and we use the key, which is user, to actually get the user. And then the other thing that we will do here is now set our user to be, remember this is in JSON string, so we pass that using JSON.pass method, and we pass our user there. Now our user now will be available in our state. So let's check and see. So if I come back and go to console, you see now we have our user in our state. Even if we refresh the application, we still get the user in our state. Pretty nice. Now once we have the user in the state, we can make use of this user to conditionally render our routes. And this is how we can do it. We just need to go to our app.jsx file, and right here we can get the user from our auth context. So right here I can say const, we extract the user, and we set our user to be equal to use context hook. So I'll say use context. I make sure to click on it so that I auto import it from React, and I pass auth context right here, auth context, and now we have our user data here. So the user can either be an object or it can be null. So what we will do, we will now conditionally render this particular chart. So right here we can just say user, and we use this ternary operator. So if a user exists, let us show the chart, else just take us back to the login page or component. So right here I'll say login, and just like that we will be able to see the chart whenever we are logged in. So right here I'll copy that. I'll do the same for register. So I will replace this. So if we have a user, actually I should remove this. So if we have a user, let us see the chart, else just let us see the register page. So right here I'll say register. Now let's also paste this here. If we have a user, let us see the chart, else let us see the login page. So I'll go ahead and save. Cool. So now this is working okay. Let's see. So we are no longer getting to the register page since we already have a user in our state, and we are no longer getting to the login page. Even if we click on them, we are stuck here because we are logged in as whichever user this is. And we can actually include this name now in our navbar. So let's go to the navbar, components navbar. Now the cool thing is that now we are able to get the user globally. using the context API. So the first thing, we have been able to get the user at our app. Now we can get that user in our navbar. So in our navbar, we will still do a similar thing. Let me just come here and copy this and be able to get our user like this. And we import these, use context, and we also import of context. I'm using control space for these suggestions. There we go. Now we have our user, and instead of right here saying logged in as Charles, we can now use the curly brackets and be able to access our user dot name, and that will give us the actual name of the user. Let's see, there we go, logged in as John, and this is John now coming from our user state here. Cool. The other thing that we can have is logging out the user, but let's cover that in the next episode.